Rolling Stones are back with Hackney Diamonds, their first album of originals since 2005's A Bigger Bang, and more notable, their first since drummer Charlie Watts passed away in 2021. In the last few years, I'd assumed that if we were gonna get a new Stones album, it would have been toyed and tinkered with for years, and would likely still have had Watts at the kit for the majority of it, but I was instead surprised to find that this was mostly all recorded really recently, and so bar a couple of exceptions, it's Steve Jordan on the drums throughout. Jordan, of course, does a fantastic job, as a great drummer first, but second as someone that has been in the Stones camp playing with Keith Richards for many years. But I do think, though, the idea of a Rolling Stones album without Charlie Watts is huge. Charlie is such a cornerstone of this band's playing from his unique feel, and I'd really recommend looking up videos of other drummers explaining why that is, but also because of the reverence the rest of the band has always shown Watts, both in their demeanour and the way they play with him. While they don't dwell on it in interviews, this must have been massive for the band. What isn't a surprise is tapping Andrew Watt to produce. The guy has found this niche as the go-to for legacy rock acts making a comeback. He's proven first with Ozzy Osbourne and then with Iggy Pop that he can deliver a fresh modern sound without selling out the artist's character to get there. Although the breakaway from veteran Stones producer Don Was might have some fans annoyed, to me this was a great decision. Work in the rock genre aside, Watt's day-to-day credits include Dua Lipa, Post Malone, Justin Bieber and Kid Laroi. He literally couldn't be more of a pop producer, and I've got no doubt that this fact is what might cause rock fans to sneer, but what they might not know or might not realise is just how passionate Andrew Watt, who is 33 by the way, is about the importance of live performance, real playing and the power of a live band. Dig deeper into those credits and you'll see him bringing in the Red Hot Chili's Chad Smith to play drums on Dua Lipa's hit single Break My Heart, or lacing Post Malone's latest record with tons of guitar-based tracks. Yes, they are then wrapped in all of the glossy of-the-moment pop production that might be the reason you've sworn off commercial radio, but that's what makes Watt such an in-demand producer. He knows how to make a hit, but he also knows his music, loves to play live and brings a soul to his productions no matter the genre. That's a long way of saying that selecting Watt for this task was the best thing the Stones could have done. These are real guitars, real drums and real performances, and it sounds big enough to be on the radio next to a modern day hit, but is very much the Rolling Stones, and I don't think people realise how impressive that is. There's a parallel universe in which the Stones tried to make a modern hit record and some big time producer didn't do all of the things I just mentioned, and we'd have some overproduced, flat, soulless embarrassment. And this is far from that. To be honest, I kind of always had quiet confidence that I might enjoy something new from the Stones, because as much as the classics are untouchable, I still bump 2012's track Doom and Gloom all the time. It's an underrated banger from the then 70-year-olds, proving that they still had it in them. And I think Hackney Diamonds does the same, about half the time. To me, the tracks generally fall into three categories. There's a few kind of mid, if not a little cringe, below average tracks. Then you have your serviceable Stones on autopilot numbers. And then you have 3 to 4 absolute knockouts. Starting from the bottom, my least favourite is Whole Wide World. One of the few where I do think the chorus is actually a bit overproduced. The lyrics are cringe and the riff is basically shattered from Some Girls, which is like 1978. This is the only one I would outright cut from the record. Depending on You and Driving Me Too Hard are fine. Very late 80s, early 90s adult contemporary rock. In fact, Too Hard actually sounds a little like Springsteen's Glory Days to me. Then there's Bite My Head Off. This song 100% started with the title. Ew, Keith, what if we did a song called Bite My Head Off? Is how this song started, without a doubt. This is an example of a song that if any other band tried to do, it would actually be shit. But that very unique Stones groove, the guitars ahead of the drums thing, makes it passable. The autopilot Stones by the Numbers tracks include the acoustic blues of Dreamy Skies, which I've really nothing to say about. This comment is already becoming a cliche, but if you asked AI to create a bluesy acoustic Stones track, you'd get something like that. I think Angry, which has grown on me a lot, falls into this category as well, with like Stones on autopilot. This is very much Start Me Up without the memorable riff, but it's got the punch, rhythm and conviction in the performance, which makes it a great introduction to the album. But it is here that we have to talk about auto-tune though. It's all over the album, but it's at its most egregious on Angry. I mean, what do you say really? It's just what it is. It's part of the industry now. Either it's used because mainstream audiences have less tolerance for vocals that are anything less than perfect, or it's deployed to ensure that recording sessions take weeks and not months. I don't have a problem with auto-tune in and of itself. It's a tool. It can be used creatively or pragmatically. It always just feels awkward in music like this, where it's audible enough to be a stylistic choice, and trust me, no one thought they were fooling anyone with this mix. But it just doesn't belong. I think it's interesting that it's toned down elsewhere on the album, like a conscious production choice for the lead single specifically. But I'd be really interested to know like what radio isn't playing this track, or what new fan isn't getting into the Stones without this auto-tune. Maybe it's necessary, I just don't see it. Anyway, it is what it is. I truly think that is the only bad trait of modern production we get on Hackney Diamonds. Wrapping up the generic Stones track, I would have to put Sweet Sounds of Heaven in this list too. Basically, it's a mid-tempo, midnight vibe Stones piano ballad featuring Lady Gaga, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's enjoyable enough. But my favourites, I'm not going to lie to you, this might be my brain trying to retrospectively romanticise things, but the first time I heard Mess It Up and Live by the Sword, I literally lit up like, those drums. And I knew there were a couple of Charlie Watts tracks here, and quickly checked the liner notes, and boom, it's these two. And you can just tell like that roll at the beginning of Mess It Up is just so trademark. And again, I don't know if it's my mind playing tricks, but I just think the band, like Richards and Wood in particular, just lock into their most Stonesiest on these recordings, and that has to be the power of Watts on the kit, his unique feel and their respect for him. If you were to ask me my all-time favourite recorded Rolling Stones moment, it goes back to Let It Bleed and the track Live With Me. There's a rhythm guitar part on the verse of that song that is so in the pocket, it makes the hairs stand up on the back of my neck. It's like that. It's so good. I'm not saying it's anywhere near as strong on this album, but on Mess It Up there is just the littlest, faintest touch of that on the back half, and I love it. I really like the Keith song Tell Me Straight. The central riff on this song really reminds me of Tango in the Night era Fleetwood Mac for some reason, and honestly that's why I like it. But Get Close is my favourite song on the album. The progression reminds me so much of a song from my childhood, and I just can't think what it is. I'm a 90s baby, so if anyone can tell me what it is, I'd be grateful. But apart from that like subconscious nostalgia, I'm just a big fan of guitar progressions that are characterized by hammer-ons and hammer-offs. Like the chords aren't changing much, but it's subtractions and additions that make it. Put that in the hands of Richard's iconic feel, and it just makes it a banger for me. I also love that they just went for the fucking adult contemporary sax solo. I mean, it's cheesy, but fuck, it's great if you ask me. This is a song I'm continuously coming back to. Look, clearly I love the Stones, but I'll try to keep an objective view here in my rating and say this is a 6 out of 10. There are some awesome highs, but there are some lackluster moments that bring it down to earth. But from a fan's perspective, I just don't think there's a lot to complain about. It's 2023, we've got a new Rolling Stones album for one thing, and whatever the quality of the songs, the performances here are vibrant and soulful and only respects their great legacy.